Season 5, Episode 12, Take 1. What is good, everybody? My name is Jake, and welcome back to the One Take series, where we get one chance to reflect on the day. No second chances, no third chances, one take and one take only. Today was a mixture of good and bad, kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. There was one thing that was, I couldn't tell whether it was good or not, to be honest. And then, the second thing was definitely bad and annoying. So honestly, I'm gonna get the bad thing out of the way and just talk about it because it pissed me off again, okay? That 1 p.m. class, I'm not a fan of that 1 p.m. class. I'm not. We're going to find a way around it. We have to find a way around it because there isn't another option at this point. The professor for my 1 p.m. is just one of the worst professors I've had, point blank. I don't need an entire semester about this. I realize that I believe we're 1/10 of the way through the semester by these numbers. This is going to be the worst professor that I'll ever have. A lenient professor, at least he's allowing me to retake quizzes. I will not deny that that is key. And he can also drop quizzes if need be. But, couple things. First, I took the quiz and I made one mistake. And because of one mistake, I'm probably either going to get the same grade I had before, which was a 4 out of 10, or I'm not going to get that much better of a grade. So I honestly thought I was going to do well. And I did well for the most part. I got so many factors right. I ended up getting, it was a question of, I'm not going to say the exact things, but I got a few things right on it. Right? Maybe, half of it right. But I'm probably not going to end up scoring well anyways, okay? Like I said, thankfully he's able to drop 2 quizzes. That's just going to have to be one of the drops. It's really nothing else. And it's just annoying because what I did on the quiz, I will admit, is a mistake that I made myself, and I just ended up rushing it. That is my fault. But there are still just more things that added to the pile of just how bad of a professor this guy is. When he was giving out the quiz today, because the thing about Friday quizzes is that they're supposed to be ripped directly from homework 1. When he is initially booting up the quiz for today, he boots up homework 2, and he says, solve this problem. Are we serious? Homework 2, are you really? And okay, he's an older folk, right? And I understand that things probably get harder as you get older, but if we're mixing up the numbers 1 and 2, why are we teaching an engineering class? I'm sorry, why are we? It's just, it's not it, right? I'm not a fan of professors that skip over important things. I'm not a fan of professors that one thing I did was I thought that originally what was going to happen was I'm pretty sure we scheduled a time Friday today evening in order for me to retake the quiz, and he said because he had a seminar. I was like, can we do it on Friday at this time? And he's like, I have a seminar kind of around that, so what if we do this time? Okay, I'm like, yeah, fine. And then today came, and thankfully I ended up checking. I had checked with the professor of just to make sure, are we still on for 4 today? And he was like, what, 4 today? And I'm like, yeah, we had something I was telling you about remaking up the quiz, and so basically that I can't do it today, so I was wondering if we could do it kind of 4 today. And so he was basically saying, no, seminar was on Wednesday. No, you said that the seminar was on Friday, and that's, oh my gosh. So it was just a mess, and the fact that I didn't even do well on the quiz itself or in the retake is just even more discouraging. It really is, honestly. And it's just I know that I'm supposed to look past it, and I know that there are several days in there where I'm supposed to look past it, but it just gets exhausting at a point, man. Even if we are only 1/10 of the way through the semester. Kind of another negative thing that happened, I'd say this is the only other main negative thing that's occurring. And then other than that, I'm just going to go straight to work, and I'm just going to try and get as much stuff in as I can before the night ends. So another thing was in my first class, right, the alliance, quote unquote, that I formed with the group of 4, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm just too locked in. It's probably because my social game or whatever is just not the greatest, right? But and granted, I am quiet. I'm just naturally pretty quiet when I'm in groups. I wasn't really saying much, but it was a thing of they just they all moved up, which is just okay, and it was kind of a thing I kind of knew that they were on the clickier side from the start, but it's still just annoying, It's bro, what reason even is there for that? other than the fact that you're discluding me and then you're including another person in your group, but whatever. I mean, alliances shift, both in Big Brother and in the game of life. So, I mean, that's just what happens. And also, I still get to sit next to a very good friend, an actual friend from that class. So that's at least good, right? I'm not going to deny that. Other than that, let me see. That was honestly pretty much my day. Oh, yeah. Wait, I almost forgot to mention the most important thing. Research. How did I skip over that? Okay, so the interview happened, right? I was studying pretty much. The reason why I got a poor night of sleep was because I woke up a little bit on the earlier end. Honestly, naturally, my body was just like, it's time to get up. It's time to get up. I was just feeling energized. I really was. I don't know if it's just like as a result of some of the stuff that I've been doing, especially this one down here. But I mean, I was honestly really surprised to see how much energy I had in the morning. I was like, okay, I mean, I guess we're doing it. And so I was just like going up, I was going through the research paper, and then I didn't have it completely like memorized down to a T, but I felt confident enough to going into the interview. And then I realized during the interview I've never actually been in like a research position interview, and that kind of definitely threw me for a loop. I'll be honest, because what ended up happening was I felt like I wasn't contributing much to the conversation, right? And this is why I have a question mark, right? By the way, to explain this title, okay? Let's break it down so that you understand what's going on, okay? Task failed successfully and makeup successfully failed. Obviously, you know about the makeup part. That's the makeup quiz, right? In terms of task failed successfully, there's a part of, I believe it is Gen Z slang, if not it's millennial slang, where it's basically when someone says task failed successfully, it means you tried your attempt at something and then it kind of worked and it kind of didn't at the same time, right? And so that's what I mean, is that this research interview was kind of task failed successfully because I feel like I didn't contribute much to the conversation, or at least much knowledge about like lasers and stuff like that, and I was kind of just saying how I was like learning more. However, there were a bunch of good signs. I was kind of worried at first that I wasn't like talking enough during the research kind of interview, and then I mean, I know that that was kind of like a thing because I was asking some people afterwards, and there were some people, well, it's like, you know, like sometimes they do want you to be quiet and they just want you to listen, right? And so, I mean, I know that I am good at that. People were telling me to be myself for the interview, and that is one thing about myself, is that I definitely listen a lot. That is probably like, if I'm good at anything in this world, if I'm good at like just one single thing, it would have to be listening. At least I like to think so. But let me see. Basically, I think it was a thing where afterward too, like not only was I good at listening, but he ended the interview and he was interested in, it was kind of a thing, I just can't tell where I'm at with him, right? I think he was asking, because he was asking for like financial support or whatever, if I need any financial support. And I didn't know if that meant if I was getting paid or if I had to pay or whatever, but I was kind of just like shrugging it off. So, I mean, if I have the opportunity to do a paid research position, honestly, I'm not really planning on doing it, to be honest, because I am a newbie in terms of like when it comes to like hands-on, well, not hands-on, but when it comes to like scientifically analyzing, like the research position is about fiber lasers. So it's about like, I'm very, very not like too experienced in that so far. So I don't really plan on doing paid. Honestly, the experience is low-key good enough for me as of right now. So if that's what he's referring to, then that's fine. He was talking about like next week, the possibility of me coming in and as a virtue, just like seeing the research lab and just picking which one I want to do, right? Which is obviously a sign that's like I'm probably good, right? Because if it wasn't good, there were a lot of people saying, well, like if it didn't go well, then it's like, oh, well, we'll just keep in touch, right? But it was a thing where I feel like it carried myself in a way where I was curious enough to learn, and I think that definitely saved me. So I'm gonna like look up when is a good time, like how much time after the interview I can thank him for the interview, right? Because it was very much appreciated. By the way, it was pretty much exactly as planned. I mean, it was pretty much like 15 minutes exactly on the dot. So you know this guy isn't messing around. But the interview itself was also interesting because he wasn't talking much. I mean, obviously not much about the research paper. It was more of like a thing of he was talking about like the current research that they're doing, right? So I mean, we'll just have to see where it goes. I genuinely don't know. it just comes down to probably reaching out. I'm assuming I'm gonna do Monday morning. I'm planning on either Monday morning or sometime during the weekend. And we'll see where it goes. But so far, I think it's going well. And like I said, even if it isn't, then worst case scenario, we got the interview on Thursday. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at with that. And then in terms of, let's see, the other things. So, yeah, I guess other than, because that's pretty much my day, right? Nothing really else happened significantly. Main things tonight that I have to do. I have to turn in 2 assignments. There's like one kind of quiz and then one homework that I have to do that is absolutely required. But I honestly plan on getting that done well before we end the night. So, I mean, I don't think I should be spending too much time on that. Whether I want to continue doing schoolwork after that is a different question, because I feel like I want to finally start making time for Jesus and Jim. By the way, you probably noticed I erased the debt counter. I am sorry I had to. It was just a thing of, even though it is a good way of showing that I'm not committing to reading the Bible every day as I had hoped to, it is a thing where it's just kind of discouraging. You know, like you look up at the debt counter, you see it, and then what ends up happening is that it just puts you further behind. It puts you in a worse mood to read it, you know? And so right now I'm just kind of deleting it and I'm just taking it day by day. We're taking it day by day. That's really all we can do. So we're going to disregard the debt counter for now. The rest of it, academics, obviously a mess. We're getting stuff done in some areas and then in some areas we're lacking, okay? From this point on, for the 1 p.m. class, the only possible other thing that I can think of in order to even have a chance in that class is to start reading the textbook. Okay, I'm not a fan of personally reading the textbooks. That's not my kind of style. But if it has to be done, it has to be done, because we gotta freaking get in on this class. We have to, okay? I mean, thankfully, like I said, okay, keep in mind the 2 drops. Okay, the 2 drops are gonna play a big role, and I am still planning on retaking the 1 quiz from this past Wednesday, right? However, okay, this is the turning point, okay? There have been times, okay? Let me tell you a story, okay? One Take, season 2, aka the first time that I ever did One Take. So it's my 2nd semester, right? Man, that's crazy. That was 3 semesters ago. That's wild. But people who were there for the entire journey were able to see me go from having an F in Calculus 2 to having an A by the end of Calculus 2. And that was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. I can't even lie. That was just one event that made me realize any type of academic comeback that I can pull, if I put 100% effort into it, is absolutely possible. And this class is no different from that. Even if the professor is probably the worst professor that I have ever had in the entirety of life, across high school, kindergarten, college. Even if that is the case, we can still pull it back, okay? This is the first 2 weeks, and 2 things get dropped, okay? This does not signify failure for the entire semester. And so that is important to keep in mind. When we're looking at the rest of it, internships, I probably plan on doing the weekend. You notice that I changed this to Saturday/Sunday, primarily because I don't know what time the relatives are coming in. They're either coming on Saturday or they're coming in on Sunday. So it depends on what day they're coming in. If they're coming in on Sunday, then I'm going with Saturday. If they're coming in on Saturday, then I'm going with Sunday. That's really it is, but I'm planning on getting that done by 8 p.m. either day, right? Research we obviously talked about, and work I plan on catching up over the weekend. I know obviously the relatives are coming in, so I can't necessarily split it 4 and 4, but I do plan on crafting some sort of method. Maybe I can do like 2 in the morning, 2 at night, just some way to split it up. But overall, thankfully, like I said, we just need only 8 hours because of Labor Day. And then from there on out, I plan on, if we're able to, I seriously would love to commit to working 2 hours in the morning before I have to go to school and get all that done, right? Especially since now, if this goes through, if research goes through, we're gonna have to make time for research, which I looked up. Apparently research is supposed to be 6 to 12 hours per week. So we just plan accordingly, right? We try and go, like I said, I'm not a scheduled type person. However, for general big blocks of time, I am going to have to go through and see where it fits in my schedule. And so, I mean, it's just a thing where, like, the more things that I fit into my schedule, the less time I'm going to have for things that are just completely unnecessary. That's really all it comes down to. And so then when you go down the list, music, I plan on honestly doing a little bit of just normal music, just relaxing, and just committing to the album, because I seriously need to get that album done. It was honestly a fun fact about this album, right? It was supposed to be done in the winter of last year. It was supposed to be done by December 2024, and currently it is September 2025. Someone had a baby in that time span, to put it in perspective. So to be honest, I need to make sure that that gets done, because that is a huge personal goal for me, and also it wouldn't make sense for the rest of my goals if that gets pushed off to 2026, because I have in my mind, like I said, remember how I was talking about, I believe it was yesterday, how I just have this whole timeline in mind in terms of when, or like where I envision myself in the future, and that especially applies to music, right? I envision myself specifically with, excluding this album, right? With a 2026 album called Unsung Hero. Then I envision myself with the mixtape 2027 called, I can't really say that. I'm not gonna say it because it kind of involves my school, right? But the thing is, yeah, so I have 2027 in mind, and then I have also debut studio album, probably in 2028. That is the goal. And then second studio album 2029, and then we have the third studio album 2031. I'm thinking about this all ahead. I mean, I'm telling you right now. I mean, the titles of the names of each album, the first one is going to be called Rise and Shine, right? The second one is going to be called Where Do We Go From Here? And the third one is going to be called Light Work. In fact, I already have the album cover for Light Work done. That's how far in advance I think about these things, right? It's all about getting it from my mind and into real life. And that is really what I struggle with in music, right? To put it in perspective with the deadlines, we'll start with that. If I don't get this done by the end of 2025, then that means everything that I have planned in my mind has to get shifted back. Because simply put, doing 2 albums in a year in my current form, when I have all this going on, let's be honest, that ain't happening, little bro. So basically, I need to get it done by the end of 2025, right? In order to keep that vision alive. That really is what it's about. Because originally the vision was to get this done in 2024 and still have that done, like Unsung Hero, the next album, done in 2026, right? That was still the vision. But if I want to keep that and preserve that vision, that's what's got to happen. As for music itself, I feel like a big thing regarding music that I currently struggle with is I have that idea in mind, and I always have a hard time putting it into my my DAW, which is FL Studio. For anyone who doesn't know, a DAW means a digital audio workface. It's basically the fancy term for saying the place where you work on music. That's pretty much what it is. So I kind of just struggle with actually having my ideas translate exactly to what I want on the computer. That is definitely a skill that I want to and also need to learn if I want to make any progress in music. So at some point, probably when I finish the album, because so far all of the beats are done and everything, it really just comes down to songwriting, recording lyrics, mixing, mastering, and then we ship that bad boy out into the world, right? So that is, my plan for music. I plan on doing that once we finish the 2025 album. But right now, we thinking just one step at a time. We got to get the album out, right? So I definitely plan on doing music, and then like I said, we got to do the fundraiser ideas. I'm planning on coming up with at least 10. I don't think it should take long because, like I said, there's already basic ones. There's open mic nights. There's busking. Okay. There's a bunch of things, right? There's just a bunch of basic ones that are simple yet effective, right? For a club that I was in last year, the one that I had to burn the bridge with, the only thing that we did was the only thing that the club did, rather, was cookies, right? Was one bake sale during Valentine's Day. It was simple, and everyone else was doing it. But you know why everyone else does it? Because it worked. It works for them, and it worked for us. So, naturally, the only time when it didn't work, they tried another one after that. I'm saying we as if I was an officer back then. They tried another one where it was specifically people who attended the open mic night, and they had like cookies and stuff like that, but they were charging like $3 a cookie, and like that's just not gonna happen, right? That didn't work. We should be trying to do fundraising things like outside of the club by bringing people in. The main goal with what I want to do with fundraising is that we fundraise, we gather money while also drawing other people into the club. That is the goal. Because if we can do both of those at the same time, could you imagine how much time and trouble we would save just trying to recruit people while also trying to keep the lights on, right? So that is the goal with what I'm doing. I want to do both at once because you might as freaking well, right? One take. I plan on doing shorts this weekend. Like I said, we already have shorts stocked up from before. I want to say we have 2 that are fully edited. If not, we have 3 that are fully edited, right? The story behind that is the idea that at one point I had this thing for myself. I was like, okay, for this week, across this week, I want you to do one short form, one take video each day of the week and see if it holds up. If you're able to, fantastic, keep going with it. You upload, every time you upload, it's going to be the one from the previous week. So if I did it, let's say, well, today is kind of a confusing date because it's 9/5. But let's say, for example, that it's like 9/8, right? Let's say that I do one short form, one take video from like 9/1 to 9/7, right? If I consistently do this, then the idea is that on 9/8, I would upload the one from 9/1. On 9/9, I would upload the one 9/9, Brooklyn 9/9. Sorry, that was kind of a crazy reference. Let me see. I should put more passion into that. 9/9. That's better. Basically the one for 9/9 goes to 9/2, right? And so it basically just keeps on going and going. While also on these days, I make another one take, right? I make another one take short form video so that when 9/15 rolls around, your boy already has a video planned, right? That is the goal with that. Okay. I plan on, that is a good idea on what I'm doing in paper, but simply put, with academics, most of the time that just doesn't work, especially when I'm trying to do a bunch of other stuff, right? So I want to try and do 7 short form one takes, and I think it is honestly possible. 7 short form one takes in the span of the weekend, right? And if not, then we'll try and find time over the week to do it, right? We'll try and split it up. But that is the goal. I want to have 7 short form ready so that way we can upload once a day every single week. And so that way we can keep it up, because that's the key to consistent growth whenever you're a content creator of any sort, right? You need to make the content engaging, which with short form especially, I think I've definitely done that. This is more like a kind of a podcast vibe, and the intention with the long form videos is much less of like appealing to an audience. But with the short form, it definitely is appealing to the audience. It's still all done in one take for the authenticity of the channel, but there is a little more editing with captions, with the title, and also with music as well, right? So it really is a thing where, once again, I have the vision, I just need to get myself there. And in order to get myself there, I first need the 7 to upload once a day. And then from there, we make another 7 and we do once a day, and we make another 7 and we just keep on going and going and going. And regardless of how long it takes, whether it takes a month, a year, 2 years, however long it takes, with consistent application, we will be able to get there. I know we will. And honestly, it will become a side hustle. That is the goal, right? Across multiple platforms. That's the thing of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. If we're able to get it on those 3 every day, consistently for 7 days a week, 365 days a year, if we're able to do that, I'm telling you right now, like, I can see myself at the top of content creation, right? This kind of ties into my theme of like the other day that I was talking about yesterday, when I was like, if you focus on one thing, then you could be really good at it. But the thing is, I envision myself in multiple categories. I envision myself as a content creator. I envision myself as a music artist. I envision myself as an engineer. That's why I'm committing to multiple things at once. Because at the end of the day, I want multiple things to do, right? I don't want to commit to one thing my entire life, because by doing that, everything just starts to become the same over and over again, right? We start to get trapped in this robotic cycle of, if you're an engineer and only an engineer for your entire life, then you get up, you eat breakfast, optional, and then you go over to work, and then you come home, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up, you go over to work, and then you come home and you go to bed. And you just keep on going with this robotic process. Where if I have these, then I imagine the idea and the vision is that one day I can alternate between these three and keep life fresh and exciting. That is the thing, okay? I want to make life, it's that saying that goes like, that's water, sorry. Water is important, guys. I want it to be that saying. I want my life to be that saying of 10 years of slavery for 60 years of freedom, right? I truly believe, I mean, maybe this is just hustle culture, maybe this is like red pill content, whatever the fuck you want to call it, whatever toxic masculinity, okay? But I truly believe in hustle, and I believe that if I apply myself to the maximum for about a decade, if I keep going at it and keep going and keep going and keep going, then one day I will be able to see the day where I am financially free. Even if it is just working a job, right? That's the thing. A lot of people spend things, like, I mean, they spend their time on unnecessary things. That's a whole nother point. But they spend their money on unnecessary things, right? And that's why I want to cut down on something like urges, right? I want to cut down on like impulse buys, which I'll be honest, today, a little bit of impulse buys in terms of my breakfast and then also my lunch, which we got to avoid, right? We got to avoid those kinds of buys because it's draining our money, right? And that's not good. That's not good because then we can't pay rents and then we can't live properly. Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's not good. So basically the thing is that when it comes to life, I want multiple things. I want multiple outlets, right? That really is what it's about. Yeah, so the rest of it, big brother will come with work, big brother. But yeah, that's basically what's going to happen for that. Which, by the way, I still want to tell one of my best friends about it because I was starting to tell him about it and he seemed a little bit interested. I'm not going to make him like I'm not going to like sit him down at season 2, episode 1 and say, oh my gosh, dude, you have to watch this. Oh, when you have to watch that. Like, I'm not going to force him. I'm not going to hold him hostage or anything. But I do want to talk about it with more people because it is fun to talk about with people. And then, you know, sleep I already covered. That's because of research. I mean, do we even need to cover these? These don't really need to be covered right now. You know, women are cool. That's one category. Money is cool. I gotta stop with impulse buys, I'll admit. Control over urges. Impulse buys getting worse. A certain thing that I don't have to mention, getting very good. We're coming up on the 2-week, we're not coming up, but this actually is the 2-week anniversary of me abstaining from said type of urge, right? And I honestly am very proud of myself for that. Most of my streaks have lasted probably around maybe like 10, 11 days. And some of my longest one I remember was 23. That was, I mean, I cannot believe that I did 23 back in my freshman year of high school. Ironically enough, it was because of I can't even mention it. It's called the November Challenge, where you try to survive the month of November. It was during that, right? So 23 days in a row during that. And then other than that, my next 2 highest, so then the other ones in my top 3 were 17 days and then 16 days. So the fact that I made it to 14 days is pretty impressive. I can't lie. This might be a little bit of self-glazing. However, I am personally very proud of myself for that. And so, you know, I'll just keep going. I don't plan on stopping. And any time that I do have one of those urges, I just do something. I get up, I move. I literally do anything else but the one thing that I want to do in that moment. Because I know that if I fail in that one moment, all it's going to do, even though I know it's not officially, like, it doesn't put me back at square one, but I will feel like I'm at square one, right? You commit to something I'm putting it in perspective, right? You commit to something for 14 days. What ends up happening is that if you fail, if you break that streak, all that's going to happen is that you're now demotivated to not do, like, to do that. You're not, wait, what? Hang on, I gotta make sure I don't trip up over my words. All of a sudden, if you trip up, you're demotivated. Because the idea is that if you have 14 days of something and then all of a sudden it gets reset back to 0, then what really is the point of going back to it if you have to start all over again, right? Reference season 3, episode 1, which lasted like or actually episode 0, which lasted literally like 3 episodes, including episode 0, right? There's no feeling more intense than starting over. So I want to make sure that we don't start over. I want to make sure that we keep going with the momentum, because right now it feels good, and like I said, it's giving me energy. It's very valuable to me. So there's that. And then connections. Sometimes you gotta cut people off, and sometimes people cut you off, you know? I mean, it is what it is. There will always be at least one person in your corner. And there, even if there are 0 people on earth who are for you in your entire life, God is with you, okay? Regardless of whether you want it or like it or not, God is with you. So there is always someone in your corner. And if worse comes to worse, you have the greatest connection of all. You have the big G from the big H, I guess. It's kind of funny that G and H are next to each other in the alphabet for that reason. And then J is like pretty close to that. That's pretty funny. Anyways, so, I mean, that's pretty much what we got for today. So, what did we learn from it? We learned that, what did we learn? Because I know that there are definitely opportunities for lessons, but what did we learn? Let me see. Basic one, but you gotta look at the positives. Because the 1 p.m., I'm not gonna lie, it is a 1 out of 10 class. And yes, I will admit that something I have to work on is my Instagram notes. Because when I am temporarily on Instagram, by the way, I still struggle with deleting that because of like instant messaging with like kind of like parents and stuff like that. But the thing is like, you know, I can't go out and like make bold statements anymore, because I think one of the things I said was 1/10 into the semester and I already fucking hate this shit. I actually said that in one of my notes, right? It's kind of funny because like normally when I'm doing notes, it's just like a way of like venting. It's a way of getting things off my chest, right? But then it was funny because one of my aunts responded with like a shock face, and so it was just kind of a reminder of, okay, wait a minute, like I kind of need to like lock in and I need to take it down a notch, right? There are some things that, I'm going to group this into this point. There are some things that are in your mind that should not be said in person, right? Or even online, that just don't need to go out into the world at all. But yeah, that's one. And then speaking of your mind, if you have a dream, I have a dream. Shout out to Martin Luther King. That brother had a dream in the world of Miles, right? If you have a dream and you really genuinely envision yourself at a certain spot with that dream, do everything in your power to make a plan and chase it. Genuinely. Because the last thing that I want in life is regrets, right? There's a lot of things that's the last thing that I want. But one of the last things that I want is to be 70 on my deathbed and be like, why didn't I try harder to be a content creator? Why didn't I try harder to be a YouTuber? Why didn't I try harder to be a musician? Why didn't I try harder to be some groundbreaking engineer, you know? Like, and I don't have to die, even if I don't become like the GOAT of musicians or the GOAT of self-improvement content or the GOAT of engineering. I don't need that, right? What I want is to look back on my life and say that I at least tried to get there, right? I would rather try 100% and get back 35 than try 10% and get back 5. I would. I honestly would, because at least I can go out saying that I tried, right? That's number 2. Number 3, let's see. Delete things from your life that discourage you, right? The debt counter was a good idea and would have been a good idea if I was able to keep it low and for me to keep it in check. However, because it was there, I almost like, I walked into the board every day and it was just another thing of like, damn it, like I didn't get to that today, you know? And so it was just a thing of, it was like, I didn't really want to feel that, right? And so naturally, I'm still not going to ignore the fact that I've been denying reading the Bible every day, right? And I still think that that's important to mention, right? But the thing is that I need to make sure that I don't see that, and it's just another reason on why I want to put off reading the Bible. Because it's like, it's 9 days, it's 9 days behind, what's one more, right? No, that's not the right mentality, right? You mess up one day, you get back up the next. That's what you have to do. So, I mean, honestly, just delete things from your life that push you in the negative direction, because we're not trying to go in the negative direction. We're trying to go in the positive axis, bro. We're trying to go on like the number line, you know what I'm saying? Like if we're going like this with the arrows, right? The very nicely drawn number line, right? And this is positive and negative. If everything you want is over here, why the fuck are we doing things that push us all the way over here? Right? I'll tell you why. It's because of Satan. It's because of the devil. That's the reason why. But try and cut out things of your life that erase this. And then you'll find that the only possible way to move is in the positive direction. If you cut out the negatives completely from your life, or at least try to mitigate them as much as possible, you only have one direction to go, which is in the right direction. That is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Cut.